thinking about it is squares have to have, their diagonals are perpendicular and congruent. So I started trying to put crosses in there. But, I mean, that's just a theory.
Oh!
Absolutely correct. I love that.
Did you hear what she said? One of the characteristics of a square is that it has perpendicular congruent diagonals. So let's just, I think what she said was, let's just forget about drawing this square. And let's just think about all of those.
It makes the first 30 really.
Okay, yes, well, it's the, yeah, well, okay, but then it also means that thinking about, let's see, that one can't work. Huh. Huh. Okay. This sounds to me like a great idea. Yeah.
On the vertical and the horizontal, then connect the dots.
Yeah, I am having conceptual difficulty implementing it.
Move the plus signs, John.
But move the plus signs.
Make a plus sign on the vertical and horizontal.
You've got to show me. I don't understand.
She's got a better look.
Show me. Show me. Show me.
If you take and make your diagonals here so that they're equal and congruent, your little squares are going to pop themselves up.
Ah, so they have to be.
Do it this way, too. I mean, whoops, and
So all the horizontal in. Ah.
3 by, 2 by.
Ah, right.
I mean, you can get it here and here.
Ah.
And then connect the dots also. You can get your diagonals easier by moving the pluses around the dots rather than the slanted lines around the dots.
Is that going to get them all?
No.
Could there be plus signs on the diagonal? Yes.
Yes.
But you sure got a bunch of them there. So let's say for this point in time we think the answer is 50. And we have some convincing arguments that that's the right answer. And let's move on. And again, are some of you uncomfortable with that? I mean, you want me to tell you the answer, right? Man, we got to break that habit. We got to just get away from that. Kids think there's a right answer in the back of the book for every problem. And they think the teacher knows them all. They're not learning mathematics. If that's what they believe, they're not learning mathematics. Mathematics is about investigating and thinking and working and arguing and trying to come to conclusions. And so there ought to be a lot of open-ended questions. Now, I do believe that you might have to make some artistic decisions about when you do that. That is, I'm not saying that you leave the Pythagorean theorem out there as something that might be true. There are some facts that we have to agree upon, and hopefully we can prove and say this is why this works, and we all agree on it, and we're done. But there also ought to be some questions and things that are sort of open. So here's one. Many of you have seen this before. This is one of my favorite problems. I have a piece of wood, and it has a square and a circle and a triangle. And I also have hidden here a piece of wood that will pass through all three holes. And on the way through, it will block out light. It goes through here. So like if it were a cube, It would go right through there, but it wouldn't go through the other two. The piece that I have goes through all three. And so if you can figure out, and you haven't seen the problem before, some of you have seen the problem before, some of you have seen the solution before, so you're out of the game. Sorry, I've got another one for you. But if you haven't, and you figure it out, I'd like to know. Now, I'd also like to tell you a story, because in addition to this walking around thing, we just love stories. Math should have lots of stories. So I have a story. David Wartowski taught at Evanston High School for a few years, and he's a department chairman now at Niles North. And he wanted to start his department meeting with a problem. So he asked me if I had any ideas, and I gave him that. I said, that'd be a good way to get started. So he did. At the end of the meeting, somebody came up and showed him a solution, and somebody else came in a couple days later with a solution. But somehow, the tech department at his school got wind of it and built one. Designed it using computers and carved it, laser printer. So I've got one of his too. And then, what was their next question? I mean, these are good kids. Are there any other problems like that? Wow. Now there's some mathematics going on. So I said, the only one I know of is the cover of the book Gödel, Escher, and Bach. And it's not quite the same thing, and so I don't think I'll be giving away the solution to my problem if I show you this. But it's one of the things that I've been intrigued by for a long time. Richard Hofstadter, a long, long time ago, wrote this book, Gödel, Escher, and Bach. And on the cover was this. His kids did it. They built it. If you look at it this way, you see the B. It's really sharp on the plastic. If you turn it this way, you can see the G. Is that backwards? Yes. That's what we got. You got it, right? Okay. And then if you turn it this way, I think, you see the E. And they figured it out, designed it, and built it. And then guess what? They started wondering about what other letters you could do this for. And what's the name of their program, David? Applied Science Technology? They built one that's Applied Science Technology. And this only happened since the start of the school year. They're off and running. There's no telling what they're going to do. And that's the beauty of good problems. You never know where they're going to go, what's going to happen, what outcomes you'll get. When I retired, one of my students was nice enough to create something called a Feldschrift, which I think is an old, people that you had as students write letters and say, here's what I remember about Mr. Benson. And it was amazing how many kids have said that their career happened because of some stupid little thing that happened in one of my classes. I mean a stupid little thing, like this. Like a problem or a puzzle or something or a question that was just thrown out that we never tested, couldn't possibly be tested by multiple choice. And let me tell you, these students were not left behind. Even though they didn't take the stupid tests. But they were educated. And it made a difference. Anyway, okay, so